Right, welcome to another hashtag 530 live, even 530 live, saying it properly, with Luke, Simon, and myself. And we are discussing what will return to normal from a business perspective on June the 21st. And this was Luke's idea and suggestion for topic, so Luke's going to kick it off. Over to you, Luke.
Thanks, Adam. Yeah, honoured to be starting the show this week for a big achievement for self. Very proud. So this came to mind today. This came to mind today, and actually yesterday as well. Obviously, after the announcement on Monday, it's giving everyone a sense of hope and looking forward and all that. And people have said light at the end of the tunnel and all things to do with that. So there's a few questions in a few network groups about how things were going to move forward from a business perspective, and we'll go into that in terms of networking, marketing, business, and social things. But yeah, just thought we'd have a discussion tonight just around what actually will go back to normal in inverted commas, and what won't. So let's kick off then. We'll start with networking because obviously I met both of you in networking during lockdown. We've all been doing Zoom now for the last 12 months and everyone's pretty comfortable with Zoom. So how do we think people will start to integrate person-to-person networking back into the business life? And how much of it will happen? Do we think it will go back to fully person-to-person, or do we think Zoom will stay
I think just kicking off on this because I know for me personally, the networking side and going to networking takes a hell of a lot of time out for me because of where I'm positioned. But Luke, you're the same, similar,
Yeah.
probably not as bad.
Mm-hmm.
I've got like a 40 plus 45-minute journey each way for any networking, so it takes a half a day out for me. So I think I will be very, very limited on what I do from a face-to-face point of view because the time is precious to me. And that's where I think Zoom has made a difference for me. The COVID side has made a difference for me. And I have to say, well, I'll ask the question really. I've got to know more people and have a conversation and a relationship with more people utilising Zoom networking that I would have done face-to-face networking. And the
100%.
connections that I've made and the increase I've made on my LinkedIn connections has been huge, massive. And I don't think I'd have done that if it had been face to face.
Agreed.
What about you, Simon?
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I'm a big advocate for networking. I think it builds us as people. It gives us connections, opportunities. Great to get together. My thoughts at the moment. We're in a number of online networks because obviously networks have moved online during this period. And today I was actually invited to one in Berkhamsted from a meeting in Watford that I'd been attending online. And I've actually declined the opportunity of actually joining them because to me, networking is all about relationships, relationship building. It's not about trying to sell and trying to look at us, here's my business card and feeding the penguins. As sometimes you see people dishing out business cards like sprats and things like that. So we've actually declined the opportunity of joining this group in Berkhamsted based on the fact that we're going to start and prepare to come out of this potentially and go back to face meetings. And we did this last year because when all this kicked off, I got really twitchy, going, "Oh God, there's all these networking events. Let's go. We're going to go for a real challenge." And ended up going to networking meetings, and I started questioning myself, thinking, I'm never going to drive 45 to 50 miles to go and attend this networking event on a weekly basis. What is the point? And the last thing we want to be doing is building relationships with people and then pulling out because we've gone back to face to face. So I think for me, it's time for people really to, if we are going to look at this roadmap, to maybe look at the networks and actually, determine how serious they are about attending. The one I run on a Friday morning will stay online without a doubt because everyone has come together from different part of the country and the groups clicked. But those that were face-to-face meetings, I would expect them to start and go back to face-to-face at some point.
Do you think, Simon, on that, that some people might be too far into the networking now and feel that they have to make that commitment to travel to, so once it opens up face to face, because they have built that relationship over the last 6 to 12 months with somebody, their productivity for their business might potentially go down because they feel like I've got to go to this on a Friday now because I know these people and have an obligation to go and support these people and network with them. And that's not something that people would have thought of in the short term during lockdown, because as you said, a lot of people had the same mindset that you just touched on there. Like, I need to go to as many networking as I can and make as many relationships as I can so I can get through this period. So I'm just thinking from a productivity point of view, Adam said that productivity wise for him, the online saving him his journey 45 minutes each way, he's gained a couple of hours each day instead of going networking. Whereas some people might potentially lose some if they feel like they have to continue networking with the networks they've built up. So that's an interesting point, actually. I didn't think of it from that point of view of the negatives of going back to person, not from a safety point, but more of a time point of view, and whether people will be able to make those commitments or not.
Now, the other side of it, as I look on this one as well. So there's two things, as I've been going through there, listening to both of you around this as well, is I made a conscious decision through COVID that I wasn't going to go and drive miles for an hour's meeting with a client, because I want to make a conscious decision about, from a green point of view and a carbon emission point of view, that I want to reduce that mileage down. I'm still going to look at doing that. I'm not going to be doing the so much networking, doing the driving because of that, and then the productivity issue. The other one was then on thinking around, well, are we going to be socially distanced still? Because I think we are. I think you're going to be socially distanced for at least the next 12 to 18 months, personally. So I still think there's going to be rules and regulations in it. I think the masks will still be, you'll still have to wear masks. So I am still wondering as to what extent, it's the unknown I suppose, that we are going to have on June the 21st. I mean, I was looking at premises this time last year for the training. I was talking earlier on saying that I don't even think I'll be doing that until next year because there'll be social distancing. We have a duty of care to people coming into those environments because they need to feel safe. So I've got there's a number of different things on it for me. I don't know what anybody else's thoughts on that are.
Yeah, I mean, definitely safety is the number one priority over anything here, and health, obviously. To me, being in a room with people with face masks on, socially distanced, is not what the networks are about either. So you are going to lose, and if they do start and come back and you end up with a room which you normally have 40 to 50 people in and there's only 15 allowed, to me, waste of time. It's not financially viable for the venue. They might increase their cost to obviously charge, instead of charging, I don't know, £3 a cup of coffee, it might be £5 or something, and people aren't going to pay a fiver. Talking about the time productivity levels, if face-to-face networks were on tomorrow and I had to jump in my car and go to a meeting, I utilise the time in the car anyway. So I just readjust the time anyway. So the productivity wouldn't really change. What would change for me, I think, is, without a doubt, some of the characters that I've met. The one I went to this morning, should I say, down in Moore Park in Bushy, Anique that runs it is French, and she is hilarious. And I've bought into her, and I have said to her from day one, Anique, no disrespect, but I'm not going to drive to Bushy or down to Moore Park in Watford for this meeting from Northamptonshire. And she said, I still want you to come. I still want you to come while we're online. I was like, okay, that's no problem, but I'm just making you aware that I'm not going to get in the car and come and... Of course, I'd love to come and meet you face to face, but we're not going to come every 2 weeks and come and meet down there. So I think it'll be really, really interesting. I'm expecting a lot of the bigger commercial networks to go back first. So, the chambers and, be interesting to see what the Federation of Small Businesses do. Be interesting to see what some of the other, financially, the BNIs of this world and the 4N or whatever it's rebranded to, do first. I can honestly say with our networks that we run around the Northamptonshire area, we would seriously engage with people first to actually get the feedback and then feed it back to people and say, look, this is what people want and this is where we're going to head. So they actually know, because we've lost people through coming onto online. There's people that haven't been coming to the meetings because they don't like the camera setup. They've got the home school as well. And then we've got those that we've never met before that have gone, hi, we are here, but we could get together. We can meet virtually, but then come together for a one-to-one and face-to-face down at a hotel. So
Yeah.
I think it's too early to call, to be honest with you.
I think
really
it's
do.
too early call. I'm just picking up here
Yeah.
because Mr. Horn, Paul Horn, has asked us, evening gents, interesting point, Luke. But I seriously believe there will be a place for the online networking going forward as well as the face-to-face events as well. And I think there will
Yeah.
be. I think there will be that hybrid level.
Yeah, Adam, on that, can I just add a point as well about the social side of it? So the safety thing you guys touched on is obviously the most important thing moving forward. And I think they said on 21st of June or whatever, the end date will eventually be that there won't be any restriction at all. So that social distancing thing might not be enforceable, but it might be something which people do themselves and keep a distance from people anyway. But another thing on the social side, apart from the health, I just want to talk about is like sort of people's confidence in networking. So I'm not too sure how you guys have found it networking, but personally, I think it's much more intimidating going into a face-to-face network group when you're new and going into a room and sitting and listening to a presentation with 15, 20 people around you don't know. Whereas online on Zoom, you can jump into a call, brand new network group, ease yourself in, contribute whenever you like, take yourself off mute. There's no pressure to do that.
In your pajamas.
In your pajamas from the waist down, exactly. So you can do all that. So. But what I'm thinking is that people haven't had that social contact for the last 12 months. And I think it might be really intimidating and daunting for people to then go switch straight back into the pre-lockdown mode of, I've got to go and network now face to face with 20 new people that I've never met in person before. It's all well and fine seeing them once every 2 weeks on Zoom and having a chat with them in a breakout room. But going and having a conversation and having, you can't escape. You can't turn your camera off in person or mute yourself or leave the meeting if something goes wrong. You've got to be there and hold that conversation as a business owner or as a business person. So I think moving forward, that for me, that's what people are going to struggle with. And I think that's what Paul is saying. There's still going to be a place for those people that are not yet ready to go and do that social side of networking. And they're remaining in the comfort zone of their house and on Zoom and really just manage it that way and maybe ease themselves into that. And I think, Simon, as well, like you said about the bigger networking groups, I think the plan for those will probably be one face-to-face meeting every month. If they're at a weekly network meeting, then they might go to one in-person meeting, again optional, with the ability for people to feed in online if they don't want to come. They could have a screen set up, which would make perfect sense, wouldn't it?
It makes sense.
You can still go and meet, and I think that's what they're doing. He's in. I think that's what they'll do.
Paul's just replied here as well, saying that because Paul's ambassador of the Business Buzz networking, and I know Paul is going to be heading up the Leicester Business Buzz meeting, and he says Business Buzz will go back to face once it's safe to do so, but we will be having online and hybrid events going forward as well. And he said, people are going to still be nervous at first about going into the group, and they are. I think that there's probably have a right to be nervous around things like that as well. So Absolutely. From a networking point of view, what about from a marketing point of view? I mean, I know this one's an interesting one and how you link this into the marketing. So what's people's thoughts on this?
So my thoughts on it, for a start, we've actually been during this period actually reaching out to people and saying this is how we as a digital business are actually adapted our marketing more digital, because obviously a lot of our business came through networking, came through exhibitions, printed literature, as well as obviously good old word of mouth. And I think for me, again, we just don't know at the moment. It's too soon. I think exhibitions, again, I mean, if a networking event can only take place with like 15 people, or there's only 15 people going to be there, how the exhibition's going to take place, and the conferences and everything. So I'll be interested to see what happens there. I think people's confidence is going to be the biggest issues, without a doubt. It's the confidence to accept a business card off someone. I'm actually holding a stack of my business cards here, thinking, do you know what? Because they're just sat on my desk because they've been sat here for over a year. And that for me is like a record of not touching my business card. I just started fiddling as we were talking at the minute, but it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. I do think we've had a shift forward. I think we've had a lot more digital knowledge is around than it was previously. Mm-hmm. My honest thoughts are, I think we'll see more digital marketing done. But I think, we shouldn't lose sight of, the other routes. Today, I've picked up the phone and spoken to somebody, and I've actually said to them, I don't want to meet online. Is that okay? And they went, oh, thank God you said that, because we're exactly the same. So, I just think it'll be interesting. Very, very interesting.
I've always said that the the marketing, sales and marketing. I always say marketing and sales. I get into the habit of marketing and sales is social media and digital marketing one hand and the phone in the other.
Absolutely.
And combine the two, which I know there's a lot of books on it. Combo prospecting was one of them that I read that said exactly the same. I think there's another one called jab, right hook.
Yeah.
I think that's Gary V. I can't remember if that's Gary V. Somebody might tell me that. I haven't read that one. But yeah, what about you, Luke? From that side.
Yeah, no, I think it's a fair point. Obviously, people know that in us three in this room have an interest in digital marketing, but like we've just touched on there, it'd be unfair for us to go and say digital marketing is the way forward. The old methods are not going to work anymore. We've moved on from them. That's not true at all. And like Simon's just mentioned there, some of the methods you used to do, they're going to work perfectly when people can return to normal life. Again, use that word in inverted quotation marks, but normal life. They're all going to work just as well as they did before. But I think what people have realized now is it's those businesses that didn't try digital before and have realized how much it's benefited their business that they will then carry on or start to grow and start to use more of it. And the businesses that can go back to those traditional methods and use a little bit of digital marketing, even if that's just updating their website more regularly, little things like that, they've learned over the lockdown that digital now is important. Like Adam says, to have in your right hand and carry on and do that online, give yourself an online presence, but then also go back to doing what you were doing before. So I think that's interesting. From a digital point of view, actually, I mean, one of the things I've got written down here from a marketing perspective, when things do open up again, how are businesses going to communicate what their new processes are and what their new offerings are? It's all going to be online because people are used to, over this last 12 months, finding out information by going onto websites, going on social media pages. So I think the launch and restarting of every business is going to be focused around digital, and it's going to be focused on doing things and getting your message out there or making your business become more visible to let everybody know, hey, we are back open now and we are doing the same things we did before. And I think that can be on a local scale or a national or even international, depending on what your business is. I mean, for example, restaurants and pubs and bars, little things like Google My Business, they need to make sure that their Google My Business details are all correct and updated after COVID, because a few of them would have only been open, for example, in the summer of last year for the Out to Help Out and limited times. So making sure that now they're open 5 days a week or 7 days a week and letting customers know that. So all about now changing the digital profile and adapting it back to how it was before and letting people know that, yeah, we are back. We are back now, and this is exactly what we're doing. I think that's how digital is going to be used moving forward from that. And also, online retail. So, I mean, I've got used to now ordering things offline, it being wrong, and just accepting that I'm going to have to go to the shop tomorrow and post it back. And that's sort of, you wouldn't have done that, I don't think, 12 months ago with such ease and acceptance. I've got this money that's floating in the crowd, I've got to return this. But now people have sort of accepted that. So when shops open and fitting rooms open, from a safety point of view, are people going to go in and want to be that close to people and try and close on in shops? Is that how it's going to work? Or are people going to accept, I'll take this home and try it on in a safe environment at home, or I'll just buy it online or see it in a shop and buy it online, because then I know that at least that's my t-shirt that no one else has touched. Little things like that. I think from a marketing and retail point of view, people's opinions and habits are going to change moving forward, and it might take time for those to adapt. I don't know what your guys' thoughts on those 2 points are.
Well, the one that I was picking up, I had a conversation late last night on LinkedIn as we were doing the manufacturing hour. A lady had asked me around, sent me an email regarding retail and clothing and body scanning. So she was asking, because obviously we got the 3D printing and scanning side. And she was saying that they're investigating, which I already know I think is being touched on, and I think there's been a recent article on it within the Fashion UK side about doing body scanning, but to a point where it will actually scan critical parts and manufacture, so it fits perfectly. So it's very, very tailored. So they're investigating that way. But I have thought, because what made me think of that is I know that some shops were actually in America, I think it was, or Colombia, I think one of my mates was in. So he couldn't go in the fitting room in the shop. So he went outside. They allowed him to go outside with the clothes, and he went and put them on outside, checked it out, and then went back into the shop. So I think there was discussion around some ways of how you could actually, put something on or scan yourself and then try the clothes on to see what it looked like virtually,
Yeah.
and then purchase that way. So I think it will be interesting the transition and transformation that businesses will go through on it, in a good way as well, to be fair.
I think from the retail point of view, Luke, me personally, I'm not a big shopper. So I think for me, what I would probably do is take the approach of spotting what I like online, or buying it, in some capacity, and then if it doesn't fit, I'll just fit my body around it. So it's either an excuse to have a couple more pints at the weekend, or to get back on the exercise bike to burn it off. So I think that's, but I mean, going back to the question you asked about, other forms of marketing and things like that. Obviously, yeah, we have been doing a lot of digital recently, but also there's people that actually print like business publications, and they actually physically print it and can distribute it. I don't know about any of you guys. Yes, we work in digital, but my eyes need a break occasionally, and to actually
100%.
sit down with a decent publication is still a way for people to get their message over. It's not all about digital, even though we're talking a lot of digital. To sit and relax, unwind, and just read the newspaper is a great way of doing it. And I actually got pulled up by somebody the other day saying, "Oh, he's talking digital. What about publications?" And I went, "Yeah, absolutely right. It shouldn't be forgotten. It's a great way to relax and unwind, but you can still get your message over in the marketing world via that route as well." So, again, who knows?
I think
Horses for courses.
I think it was in that meeting a certain gentleman said that. And the thing for me is that I like, most people have got Kindles, or Amazon, the Amazon Kindles or whatever, e-readers. I prefer the tactile feel of a book. I like a magazine. I've got a magazine at the back of my ear that I'm reading from the Institute of Leadership Management. So I think there are, so from a marketing point of view, there are, you might call them old school, but I don't even think they are old school. I think they're just still as current as they were.
And talking of old school, I mean, no one's actually really touching on word of mouth marketing these days as well. Yeah. And the thing is, without digital, without the internet, without newspaper dropping on your doorstep because the delivery man's off sick or whatever, hopefully not with COVID, but at the end of the day, without that coming through the door, marketing can still come from a referral from people that just say, speak to these guys, or a bit of signage on the front of your building, or of course with Paul watching, obviously with his digital displays as well. So there's so many different ways that people can get their message over. I think half the time it comes down to, are they in the market for your products, and do they want it, and have they got the money, and can you supply? Job done.
It's interesting that the one thing I would say is that the behaviour, Luke knows what I've been doing over the last weekend. So I've done these heat maps mixed in with so the top hours to post on the 4 main sort of like platform, 5 main, because I've included Google My Business in that.
Yeah.
But then mix my metrics over the top of that as well, so to optimise it. And it's interesting how things have changed. It certainly surprised me where the 2020 things seem to have shifted out later a little bit. So posting went later instead of the norm of being earlier, particularly on LinkedIn. Was the one I noticed. So 8 o'clock, 8:30 is now 9:10. Is some of the best optimised times in the morning.
And Adam, as well, are they going to go change again? When people start going back to work, those times are going to shift again, and habits are going to change again.
Which is where I was going to come full circle and turning around and saying is that is one thing that people should track and should measure, because it was a bloody eye opener for me at the weekend in doing it. Luke seen it and just thought, "You nutter."
But you're wasting hours of your life here, Adam. But no, it was really good. It was wicked,
but it's fascinating, and to optimise your marketing, brilliant. Paul's just put up here. I think he's just watching. Word of mouth is still the greatest advertising going. It is, without a
absolutely,
shadow of a doubt. Very much, Paul. Paul did a brilliant. We were talking about business cards earlier. I don't know whether you've ever seen Paul. Paul did because he's the graphic designer called Goldfish Designs. Does a fantastic business card that rotates within Twitter and your social media, and he brilliant. And he actually does that as a service. And that's just what made me think about that with the business cards earlier.
Again, that's just somebody adapting, Adam, isn't it? That's what the lockdown's done, and those business cards will work just as well as normal business cards when we will go back to normal. And you can have both now in your business, which you wouldn't have had a virtual business card before. Everyone just said, "Why don't you give me a paper copy of it?" But now you've got both, and they, like I said, they've been working great for them. So yeah, that's a really good.
They'd be bloody good on your website. Those things, because it's an eye catcher.
Absolutely.
It's movement, so it catches the eye, which again is what you want. Something catches your eye and draws you in. Turns that glance into a stare.
What I will say to you guys, though, is obviously when we do get back into the situation and get back to face-to-face marketing and things like that, I have got about 2,000 branded pens, which we ordered, literally just arrived, I think, about a week before we got locked down. So if you know anyone who wants a branded pen, let me know.
Yeah. No, I'm always up
before the ink dries up.
Just got to pay postage packaging, which is £15.95p.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? I'm conscious of the time because I know that we do try and keep these within sort of like.
We could finish off, Adam, by saying what's the biggest thing that you don't think will go back to normal when we go back? What's something you did before which you don't think you'll do when you go back? I think personally,
no two ways about it. For me,
it's the travelling. Yeah,
it's the travelling. I want to. I was putting in £70-80 of fuel a week. I bet I've put 120 in about the past 10 months.
Yeah, agreed.
That's what
that's yeah.
That's what happens when you drive an 8-litre Ferrari or whatever you got. I mean,
I don't think I'd have one of those. It ought to be a massive V8. I might put a V8 engine in a motorbike frame. But yeah, no. That for me would be the one for me. Claire Trice has just put on here, by the way. I agree. Word of mouth is the best referral, but without digital, I wouldn't have met Adam and Simon. Oh, bless her. Thank you very much, Claire. Simon's nodding as well.
There you go.
But yeah, so yeah, that would be for me the travel. I am gonna. There's no two ways about it. Cut down that because I am consciously thinking of my carbon footprint now.
What about you, Simon?
Yeah, I mean, very similar. I mean, the productivity time we bought last year by not travelling around and obviously investing the time in the business, the clients, the brand, in ourselves. You can't buy that. And we were handed this big precious commodity last year on a plate called time. And I think the thing that worries me slightly is when we do go back to the ways things were before. If we do, who knows? It's still too soon. All I know is I think June the 21st is near Boris's birthday, and he's obviously going to want to open the pubs for his celebration.
19th. Yeah,
19th,
he's
isn't it?
19th, so he'll be opening the pub for his birthday, yeah.
There's a gentleman I follow,
But
is
who
a
knows?
fantastic gentleman on Instagram called Grief Preacher. And he's got a hell of a backstory with his brother. And he posted on his Instagram last night. Obviously, Boris Johnson wants his birthday to be lit. That was it was fantastic.
There's always a cynic out there somewhere, but I just think as well. I think we've got options and opportunities to explore. We can quite easily do a virtual meeting. I mean, us three have never actually met. But we could have a virtual meeting, and I'll say, Adam, what are you doing on Friday afternoon? Oh, not a lot. Right, come on, let's go for a beer somewhere. And then we would actually find a way of actually making it happen face to face. And I think that's what the biggest thing from all this. Sorry, Luke, I don't think you're old enough to drink. I'm not sure, but
I'll be 23 last week. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but I think
I'm just in America now. I'm legal in America as well. It's all good.
I think it's a case of there's options available which weren't necessarily there before, or people didn't have the confidence, and we all had to become these TV presenters and these hosts and everything over the last year. So be sorry to see a lot of it go, but at the end of the day, there's options out there for people. Yeah. So
I mean, like things like this, I won't stop. I won't stop these discussions because I enjoy having these discussions on a Wednesday as well. Because it's good to bounce ideas off of others and have discussion. I hate using the word debate because I always think that somebody's got to win an argument.
Heated,
debate,
yeah.
It's discussion.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I think that brings it to an end. Thanks to everybody watching it and listening in and commenting. So we'll see you again next week. Have a good week.
Bring on June 21st.
That's it.
Right, good. Relax.
Okay.
Brilliant. Well done, guys.